All right, Sam, let's talk wide receiver sleepers this time. We did our list for running backs, which is already going to be up live. And now I think we need to give the audience some receivers. What we're going to do today is we're going to give you guys our top five wide receiver sleepers. We think we have a solid mix of vets and potential slightly younger guys to help fill some void in the later rounds. Just to keep in mind that this is for redraft leagues. It's definitely not for dynasty leagues. As I can tell you, listening to our lists, our guys are generally a little bit older. Not all of them, though. So some of them will definitely fit the bill. With that said, Sam, why don't you kick us off with your first sleeper?
Yeah, no. My first receiver, he's kind of that mix. He's not too young, not too old, but he's kind of fallen under the radar this season a little bit here. My first pick is Christian Kirk. Right now, we have him in our rankings as 56 off the board. He's our wide receiver 29. I just think this year with Calvin Ridley gone, uh, hopefully a little bit of a bounce back for Trevor Lawrence this year. I think Kirk is really underrated right now. They brought in Gabe Davis. They drafted Brian Thomas. I think long term Thomas might be the number one in that offense, but at
Mm-hmm.
least for the first part of the year and maybe through the end of the season, I expect Kirk to kind of be that volume monster for the team here, while Thomas and Davis are more guys who take off the top of defenses.
Sure.
I think he'll be able to see a lot of targets, a lot of volume, and I'm happy to take him in that range almost every time there.
Okay. Yeah, I like Kirk there. He definitely has the number one role. I'm sure they drafted Thomas to replace him, but that'll take some time. Um, my number one comes in at our 54 ADP and our rankings. It's Amari Cooper on the Browns. I know you guys might say, he's getting older. He's with Deshaun Watson. I want to ease that a little bit. Last year, Amari Cooper had a really, really good year. And he averaged 15.4 points with Watson on the field. So I don't see Watson as really being an issue and slowing down Amari Cooper, and he's clearly the clear cut number one on the Browns team. I don't see anyone else there really supplanting him. Elijah Moore is proven to be hot garbage. So I'm not too worried about anyone else there really taking some catches from him. So as long as he's healthy, they're going to be feeding him the ball. So I consider him a high end wide receiver two potential if we're talking fantasy, while he's a number one on the Browns.
Yeah, I think you got to move his ADP up a little bit too once Jameis Winston eventually takes over as the starting QB for the Browns.
Yeah,
My
I agree.
prediction, week eight. But
Jameis Winston's going to come in and throw in some interceptions. It's going to be great.
hey, as long as he's airing it out, I don't care how many interceptions he throws. But yeah, no. My next pick here, and this is again tied to we're looking at new coaching staff, new QB. I really like Terry McLaurin this year. I have been burned by him so many years in a row now, but this year, I swear, I feel like it has to be different. They have Cliff Kingsbury as a new OC. They have Jaden Daniels, who I think is a massive improvement over Sam Howell and uh,
Everybody else.
who, yeah, basically anyone else who's thrown a football for the Commanders for the past couple of years here. Uh, I think that he, has the potential to, be that number one target for that, young rookie QB who probably wants that safety blanket. Obviously, he's, red zone threat. He's a volume guy. There's a lot to like here, and I think he'll be pretty good this upcoming season.
All right. I like that. My second one is going to be probably the oldest out of everyone we have, but he really has not shown any signs of decline in play. He had a monster season last year, and that's Keenan Allen. We have him at 57 ADP on our list right now. Obviously, that's going in the sixth round. So a little bit high compared to where he finished last year. I think off the top of my head, he was wide receiver two or three. He had a really, really good year. I know I picked him up midway in our dynasty league, and I did not regret it. He put up a lot of points for me. Obviously, he's going to have a little bit of a slide back because now he's no longer the number one receiver on his team. He's going to be behind DJ Moore. But I don't think that matters too much. I don't see Odunze taking anything from him at the start. He's clearly going to be the wide receiver three, and I think Keenan Allen and DJ Moore are just going to eat from Caleb Williams, just throwing them the ball as much as he possibly can. You could look at me and say, yes, there's obviously the jury's out on Caleb Williams, but I really do think that you have a potential top 24 wide receiver taking him. And if you get a top 24 wide receiver in the 6th round, you're going to be sitting pretty good.
Yeah, no. Keenan Allen every year, I think, is the year he'll finally decline or fall off a cliff, and he just seems to keep
His back will
hanging
break
on
or
there.
something.
So, yeah, no, he could be good. Again, I think that's pretty reliant on how big of a role Odunze carves out, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see with that one. Yeah, and my next pick here, we have him at ADP 145. He's our wide receiver 81 coming off the boards right now, and that's Michael Wilson for the Cardinals. I really like him. I think he kind of flew under the radar last year as a pretty productive rookie.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, Kyler Murray was injured most of the year. The QB play in Arizona was not great, to, to say the least. But he's a very good route runner. He's big. He's kind of built like that prototypical like alpha wide receiver. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. comes into the picture now. He's going to be the clear cut number one. But we know that wide receiver two is hold immense value in fantasy every single year. And I think if Kyler Murray stays healthy, Michael Wilson can be that solid wide receiver two on the Cardinals offense. Um, I think at going in the 14th, 15th round of drafts, that's an absolute steal.
Yep. Yep. I can agree with that one. I think we got some good picks here for people to jump on. The next three that I have, which I'm not going to list them all at once here, are actually in our ADP. They're all in a row. I didn't realize that until after I had written them down. So that kind of panned out, funnily enough, which is a made up word. Next, for me, number 3 is Curtis Samuel. I am not personally a huge fan of Curtis Samuel. I haven't been over the last couple of years. I think he's an average wide receiver. But when it comes down to it, he's also been stuck on Washington. Washington has been nothing but trash the last few years, but now he is back with his old OC, Joe Brady, which is when he had his best year back in 2020. So I think that brings a lot of potential. One of the things Joe Brady likes to do is he likes to use his wide receivers to actually rush the ball. And Curtis Samuel, under him, had 200 yards rushing alongside with 2 touchdowns on the season, which I think gives him a pretty decent home to get a lot of touches this upcoming season. Right now, we have him at the 110 ADP. I think you will not regret picking up Curtis Samuel as a potential flex play for spots. You definitely don't want to make him your wide receiver 1 or 2. Please don't. But he's definitely a good stream option if one of your receivers gets hurt or to cover flex, especially if you have 2 flex spots in your league.
Yeah, no, it's someone in that Buffalo offense has got to catch passes from Josh Allen, and
Right now, he might be number 1. Who knows?
yeah, you never know.
Allen's definitely
Yeah,
a jump up from Sam Howell, as you stated.
yeah, pretty significant improvement there,
Hmm.
and kind of similar. Obviously, not as good of a jump as Howell to Josh Allen there, but my fourth wide receiver sleeper. You can get him in the mid rounds of your draft. He's going at 99 in our rankings. It's Cortland Sutton. It seems like a decade ago was when he had his big breakout season. I think he finished like as a top 15 wide receiver.
Hmm.
Um, the last year, the Broncos had probably between them and the Jets, worst QB play in the league, in the entire league.
It's been years,
Um,
actually.
I think they could have used like Desmond Ritter. Honestly, it would have been an improvement. Um,
Hmm.
they had Jerry Jeudy there. It was Sean Payton's first year with the offense. There was a lot of things that just went horribly wrong, and no one in that offense had a particularly exciting season.
Hmm.
Granted, this year Judy's obviously gone. He's now in Cleveland. It's the second year with Peyton in his offense. Peyton has a QB that he thinks kind of fits his system pretty well there, uh, which is Bo
Turns
Nix.
out,
Again, I know you're not a Bo Nix fan, but I think he can run the Peyton system well. And
sure.
if we know the Peyton system, it is they like to feed their big alpha wide receiver. I'm not saying Cortland Sutton is prime Michael Thomas, but scheme wise, if he could
Yep.
kind of fit that role and you can get him in the ninth or 10th round of your draft, you could be looking at a top 20, top 30 wide receiver there.
Sure. I could definitely see that. He doesn't really have many other people to throw to. So I think that gives Sutton an upside just in itself because he's going to be a clear-cut one. My next one, as I said, was 110 on our ADP was Curtis Samuel. My next one's actually 111, and that's Mike Williams, who I don't think is getting enough love across the board. Dude's a monster when he's healthy. I know that's obviously the issue is coming off of injuries, which again, he's coming off an injury last year. I had him on my fantasy team again. It was brutal losing him, but when he was playing, he performed extremely well and showed no signs of any decline. He's 29 years old, so he's still under that quote-unquote 31-year-old threshold that we like to look at for wide receivers before we start to see a bit of a tail off. What else can I say? He's on the Jets. He's got Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be feeding him the ball. I have no doubts about it. He's going to be getting fed. When he's playing, he's averaging 2.33 yards per route last year, which was actually 13th best out of like all 140 receivers that qualified. That's pretty damn good for someone when they're on the field. So I think getting him in the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds, which is where he's going right now, you're getting a steal with potential huge upside, especially if he's on the field all year. So, yeah.
I think that last part is probably the biggest if he's on the field all year, which obviously has been the biggest issue with Mike Williams' entire career. But
it's unfortunate. It really is. But he's a year removed. He's had a year of rehab. He should be good to go come the season starts. So we'll see. I think he's one of those high risk, high reward grabs where if you get him late, he could be like drafting a receiver back in like the 4th or 5th round because he can have that kind of payoff.
yeah, no, you should at least get those like solid 6, 7 weeks out of him, hopefully. Which in the range he's going, yeah, that's not that bad for some of the other players going in that range, honestly. Even if he doesn't stay fully healthy. Yeah, and I didn't realize the theme of the players I'm picking until I'm about to give my same spiel again. But another new offensive coordinator, looking at the Saints, who they brought in Clint Kubiak, and Saints again, one of those teams, one of the worst offenses in the league last year. So some of my swings here, some of my bets are that these offenses are going to improve under new coaching, new coordinators, whatever it might be. And I really like Rashid Shaheed here. He goes around like the 150 mark, so really like the tail end of your draft is like one of those last kind of bench spots you can stash with him here, especially in redraft. He's one of the fastest wide receivers in the league. We know he has that big play potential. With some of the new kickoff and return rules here, I wouldn't be surprised to see him involved there as well, and could possibly be getting some extra touchdowns there. Yeah, and right now there's no competition for that wide receiver 2 role in the Saints offense. Olave is the clear number 1, but I don't think A.T. Perry or I don't think I can name Bud Means. I don't think anyone else in the well, Kamara's a running back, obviously, but I don't think anyone else is going to be competing for those number 2 touches here. I don't think Derek Carr is completely washed yet, so if the Saints offense can improve marginally and be just not complete trash, I think Rashid Shaheed's very good for this late in the draft.
Sure. That's when if you're looking for people to stash away that could have potential breakouts, it's a good time to do it. My next one comes in on our list at 112 ADP, and that's actually Jameson Williams. He's the youngest person on my list. He's going into his 3rd season. Obviously, his first season was a wash. His second season was almost a wash due to injury. He hasn't really gotten the ground under him yet because he's just barely played overall, which I think causes people to sell him a little bit short in what he potentially brings to the table. There's a reason he was drafted as high as he was, and there's a lot of talent there. And now he's the clear-cut number 2 on the Lions offense. Josh Reynolds is gone. I suspect Goff will feed him pretty handsomely because Amon-Ra is almost going to command a ton of coverage. So Jameson should definitely have a little bit of time, like getting down the field and getting open, with Amon-Ra just eating so much of the defensive coverage that I think he's just going to get fed. I think he's another one that has immense upside. He's young, and there's definitely breakout potential there. Even if you're in a dynasty league, he's another person that you could think to potentially stash to see if the season is the season where he starts to break out. The other side of this is obviously this could be the season where we realize he's not breaking out into anything because it's pretty much a now or never scenario. But he had the talent. There's a reason he was drafted the way he was despite coming off injuries. So I hope he succeeds, but time will tell as long as he doesn't gamble again.
Yeah, no more gambling on.
No.
It wasn't even football. Was it horse racing and in the facility? I don't even know.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
He's
No, solid pick.
He's an idiot.
We'll cut that part out.
No, we won't. Not at all. We all make dumb mistakes, and that was definitely a big one.
Yeah. No, I'm much more excited about this list than the RB list. The RB list with sleepers is obviously a lot of speculation. If someone goes down, if a starter falls off the face of the earth, kind of deal. A lot of these wide receivers, they already are the wide receiver 2 or 3 in their respective offenses, so they're going to get snaps and they're going to get opportunities to improve. So I bet you a handful of these players are very fantasy relevant very early on in the season here.
Yeah. All right. Let's end this.